Hey everybody, welcome to the Conscious Love Show. Whether you are single, you are in a relationship, or you're healing a broken heart, this show is here to inspire you, to remind you how beautiful, lovable, and amazing you truly are, and to give you the practical tools and insights to navigate from wherever you are right now to the loving relationship that you so deeply want to have. My name is Shane Kohler. I'm a certified transformational coach and trainer with over a decade experience helping people release their trauma and open their hearts to love. I've delivered seminars all over the world, coached thousands of people through my online platforms and programs, and every week I'm coming straight to you with the hottest insights and the best teachers around, bringing you powerful resources and profound conversations to heal your relationship with love, dating, and yourself. I'm so grateful you're here, and if it's your first time, welcome. You can count on me to always show up for you with my very best and a commitment to learn and grow myself so I can serve you to my maximum ability. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. I've got some awesome things planned for you today. So without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, hello again, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to the Conscious Love Show podcast. Shane Kohler on with you today. Pleasure as always. Happy to be here and looking forward to diving back in with you. I'm excited about today's conversation. It's been something that's been on my mind for a little while and something I just really want to deep dive with you on. I'm going to ask a lot of you in today's episode because I'm going to ask you to wrestle with some deeper spiritual concepts, and we're going to divert from maybe our typical relational conversation and go a little bit deeper into the existential experience of relationship, the spiritual experience of relationship. And I'd like to assert as we begin today's episode that relationships actually are spiritual experiences. They're mystical experiences. And if you're somebody who loves to explore the spiritual, if you love wrestling with deep spiritual concepts and thinking about the broader reality of what life is outside of just the material, physical world that we live in, then you're probably going to love today's episode. This will probably be one of your favorites. And if you're not somebody who likes to explore those kinds of ideas, then you might struggle with this one a little bit. This might not be your favorite. But regardless of where you sit, I want to invite you to listen with an open mind. Because what I'm going to break down in today's episode is actually the deeper reality of relationship. It's actually the underlying existential experience of what happens for us in relationship with each other. And a lot of people don't really talk about this. And if you look at it from a strictly psychological, relational, materialistic perspective, you can only go so far, right? If you talk about our relationship with our parents, our attachment wounds, and how we relate with each other, and our patterns, and whether we're anxious or avoidant, or all these different things, like you can get a lot of it. But you're almost like beating around the bush while missing the fundamental piece that connects all the dots together. And that's the spiritual piece. And so that's the piece that I really want to explore in today's episode. And again, I want to invite you, listen with an open mind. If you love these concepts, then this episode is going to be easy for you. But if you don't, I want to say, try to be open. Because if you really understand what I'm talking about in today's episode, you are going to understand relationships on a level that almost nobody does. And again, this is something that if you were sitting with certain spiritual teachers, they might allude to this. But in the therapy, psychology, relational conversation that you hear from most people don't really talk about this. But after decades of my own spiritual work, after decades of working with people in their relationships and my relationship with my wife and all my past relationships and just the breadth of experience that I have working both in the spiritual world and the relational world, I've connected a lot of dots. And I'm going to tie some things together today that if you let this penetrate, if you let this resonate, this is going to connect some dots for you and you're going to see things in a whole new way. And it will be deeply freeing for you. Because really what I'm going to address in today's conversation is the way to experience wholeness and freedom from the pain that we encounter in our relationships. And so, again, I want you to listen with an open mind. I want you to wrestle with the concepts today and see what opens up for you when you do. Because there's a lot of powerful things we're going to touch on today. I wanted to share this before we started. So when I began my coaching work, over a decade ago now, it's been a long time, but when I began my work, The Living Relationship, which was the name of my brand, started as a spiritual thing. And the initial philosophy was that this is going to be work about our relationship with life and having our relationship with life be in such a way that we create happiness and prosperity and love. And it was going to be very much a spiritual conversation about how we relate with God, the universe, and everything in it. And as I was forming my conversation and forming the narrative and forming my teaching, I was doing a lot of my own work on it. So praying and meditating and reflecting and journaling and just, really trying to figure out what's my message going to be and who am I going to serve and how am I going to serve them? And as I was exploring all of that, the answer came to me really clearly. And I always thought, I want to teach people about God, or if I was praying, I'd say, I want to teach people about you. And the response came back, if you want to teach people about me, then teach people about each other. And that's going to be fundamental to today's message, because if we really want to know God, we come to understand God through our human relationships, through our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with other people. And as I said earlier, relationships are a spiritual practice. The experience of being in love and falling in love is a mystical experience. It's something that bypasses the ego. It's something that touches us on an existential level, that really causes us to question or face fundamental parts of ourselves that we don't face in other areas of our lives. And if you really allow yourself to let today's message penetrate and you connect the dots, like I said, you're going to have an awareness about relationship that most people don't have. So I want to begin by naming the experience of separation. And we all know what it feels like to long for a relationship. We all know that feeling of wanting to belong, wanting to love, wanting to be loved, wanting to be held, wanting to find our safe place in the universe. It's something that we experience from the moment of our birth. It's something that we spend our whole lives trying to fill. And if you look at how we live, really everything we do in our whole lives is an attempt to find connection in some way. It's an attempt to find love in some way. So if you think about what are the things people do, we go to work and we earn money, right? And we think if I have enough money, I'll feel safe and I'll be able to live in the place I want to live and I'll be able to do the things I want to do and I'll be able to be around the people I want to be around. And money becomes a substitute for love. Or if I succeed in my profession and I get lots of approval and lots of accolades and I get, lots of people looking up to me and lots of respect and adoration. And that can be a substitute for love. Or we look at even like getting on social media and putting myself out there and getting attention, getting likes on my post, right? All of these things are substitutes for love. And then there's the idea of falling in love, being in a special love relationship. And maybe that's the ultimate reward that people are seeking. To find my special person who loves me unconditionally and accepts me completely. And a lot of us think that if I found that special person, if I was unconditionally loved and I was held and I had someone that I belonged to, and that then I would feel whole. But I want to say that all these different things, all the things that human beings do, all the ways that we try to prove that we're enough in the world, all the ways that we try to find a place to belong, all the ways that we try to love and be accepted and fit in and have power and control and access, and all of these things are simply attempts to resolve the fundamental experience of separation that weighs on the heart of every single human being. And that is a spiritual separation. So let's explore that for a moment. When we are born into a body, the first thing that happens is we are grown inside of our mother, and we're connected to our mother through the placenta and the umbilical cord, and we are a part of our mother's body. And then after 9 months, we are forced out of her body, the umbilical cord is cut, and we are born into the world as our own separate being. We are no longer a part of the body that created us. We are separate. This is our first experience of separation in the world. This is the origin wound, we could say. The time when I am cut off from that which created me, and I am isolated in my own body as my own being. I am separate from everyone and everything else. That's a deeply, deeply painful experience. And because most of us don't remember that, we don't really realize how painful it is, but I'm raising a child right now, my wife and I, and she's less than 2 months old. And I'm watching her navigate this. I'm watching how she craves to be close. She craves to be held. And the moment we put her down, if she's awake and she's aware that she's been put down, she cries and she wants to be held again. And we're helping her form a healthy attachment, and that, she learns that it's safe to be alone. So we might put her in the swing and let her swing for a little bit, and we're right there and we'll talk to her. And so she's not held, she's not close, but she's nearby, and she can see us and she can hear us, and she can feel safe there for a little bit. And we're teaching her to feel safe in the experience of separation, something that a lot of us didn't have. But I see that core wound in her. The fear of being separate, the fear of being alone, the fear of being isolated. And I like to think that our human experience, our human journey, is a metaphor for the bigger spiritual journey that we're on. And so I'd like you to entertain the idea that before you were born into this world, you were one with that which created you. You were a part of that which created you. You were intimately connected to that which created you. And you can call that God, you can call it the universe, call it what you want to call it. But you were part of that which created you. You were with that which created you. You weren't separate from it. And our human experience is essentially the experience of separating from our source, separating from our creator, separating from the origin from which we come. And maybe we do it for adventure. Maybe we do it because we're afraid and our fear disconnects us. There are different philosophies and different theories about why we do it. But I don't want to necessarily get into all of that. I just want to state the simple point that before we are born into this human experience, we are a part of something greater. We are a part of that which created all things. I don't necessarily think that's a big man in the sky with a long beard who's looking down on everybody and saying, you're good and you're bad. Like that's a little bit simplistic. I think the reality is deeper than that. But there is a origin. There's something that gave the universe existence. And we are all a part of that something, that we all came from that something. Again, call it God. I think it's okay to call it love, because almost every religion in the world, every spiritual philosophy has at its core the idea that God and existence is love. So we could say that in the beginning of our existence, we are born from love. We are extended from love. We are a part of the love which gave us existence. And then, in order to play this human game, this human adventure that we come into, we separate from that love. And the separation from our Creator is personified in the metaphor that when we come into this world, we separate from our mother, which again is the creator of our body. And we experience this origin wound of separation. I was a part of something and now I'm not. I was connected, now I'm isolated. Now I'm alone. And from that origin point, from that starting place, we end up spending our entire lives trying to feel connected again. I want you to think about that. From the moment we experience that separation at the very beginning, we spend our entire lives trying to feel connected again. And we do that in so many different ways. We do that through our careers. We do that through our relationships. We do that through the things we create, from the approval we get. And all of these things serve as like little band-aids on the experience of being separate, right? So when we're children, if we can please our mother and our father, for a moment, we feel a band-aid on that experience of separation. For a moment, we don't feel so isolated. And this is where so many of our attachment patterns develop, because when we're very young, we do whatever we have to do to get that approval, to get that acceptance, and we feel healed for a moment. We feel whole for a moment because my mother or my father looks at me and they smile and they say, "Good boy" or "Good girl." And we feel for a moment, I'm not alone. They see me, they love me, I belong. And so we start to do more of those things. And sometimes we don't get enough attention from our parents, and so we act out and we cause problems. And for some of us, that was the only way we could get attention. And even if it was negative attention, it was still attention. And if we couldn't get positive attention, then maybe we get negative attention, and then that becomes our pattern. But whatever the pattern is, however it came about because we were trying to feel connected. We were trying to resolve this existential experience of disconnection. And what I want to say, that existential experience of disconnection is a spiritual disconnection. It's not entirely physical. It's played out in the physical. But the physical is only reflecting the spiritual context that gave it existence in the first place. And so we're all suffering from this fundamental separation from God, separation from love, separation from our source, our origin, our home, the place that we come from. And then we're born into the world, and we play that out in separation from our mother. And when we're young, we try to get approval and acceptance and belonging with our parents. And that forms our attachment patterns. And then we go to school and we try to be liked by our peers and be popular and be accepted and be the cool one however we fit in. Whatever we had to do to fit in. And for a moment, if we can belong with our peers and our classmates in our school, it's like it puts a Band-Aid on that feeling of separation, that feeling of isolation. And then as we get older and we start to date, and if we can be sexually attractive and romantically attractive, and people want to be with us, and that puts a little Band-Aid on that feeling of isolation, that feeling of separation. And all the other things we do. Even when we're on social media and we're doom scrolling, there's a part of us that feels connected to the people and the things that we're viewing on social media. Even that is us trying to find a place to belong. It's us trying to find something to connect to. And some forms of connection are uplifting, and some forms of connection are numbing. I went to Atlantic City to see a concert a few months ago. And I was staying in one of the hotel casinos there after the concert. And I took a walk on the casino floor at like 3 a.m. And I don't play casino games. I'm not a gambler at all, but I like to people watch. And I was just looking around at, some of these people who are sitting in front of a slot machine, and it blows my mind. It's like somebody sitting in front of a slot machine at 3 a.m. just playing one more round, one more round, one more round. And to them, that's love. It's sad. It's a sad place to look for love. But just for a moment, as long as they're sitting in front of that machine, as long as they can play one more round, it's like it puts a Band-Aid on that feeling of isolation, that feeling of separation. They have a place to belong for a moment. And this is our predicament as human beings. There's a teacher named Ram Dass, who I know I've spoken about him on the podcast before, but Ram Dass has been one of my greatest spiritual teachers. I've read probably all of his books, and he made a profound impact on me. And he says in one of his teachings that we walk through the world like hungry ghosts. Right? We're all hungry for love, and we get a little bit, whether we get it from a slot machine, or whether we get it from social media, or whether we get it from a relationship, or whether we get it from getting that promotion at work and everybody clapping their hands and saying, good job. But we get a little bit of love, and it fills us up for just a moment, but it's like we're ghosts because it goes right through us and we can't really hold on to it. And then we need more love. And this is why it's a spiritual experience, because it's existential. It's a part of who we are. And this is why no amount of love that we get can really fill us. How many of us have fallen in love with someone and said, oh my God, I've never felt like this. You're my everything. You complete me. Now that we're together, everything is going to be beautiful forever. I'm never going to suffer again. I'm never going to feel alone again. And we really believe it, because that experience of falling in love, that's one of the most intense experiences we can have in terms of the kind of Band-Aids we can put on separation. Nothing really hits like that. I mean, let's be honest. You get a promotion at work, it feels good, but it doesn't feel like falling in love. Or, you get a big win at a slot machine. It feels good, but it doesn't feel like falling in love, right? Like there's not really anything that hits quite that hard. But then what happens 6 months later? Where did the love go? Now it's mundane. Now you annoy me. Now why aren't you the way you were when I met, or I didn't even know you, or you've changed on me? Where did the love go? Well, something magical happens, and this is why I find romantic relationships in particular to be such a fascinating study, is because something happens when two people fall in love with each other. It's like for a moment, the ego, which the ego is the part of us that believes in our separation. It's the part of us that is isolated. And for a moment, the experience of falling in love bypasses the ego. It's similar to if you've ever had a mystical experience through breath work or through meditation or through plant medicine. It's very similar to that. And the experience of falling in love bypasses the ego for a moment, and we feel deeply connected on a spiritual level. It's a legit mystical experience. We think we're connected to the other person, but what we're really connected to is ourselves and the God within us. It's like what happens is we fall in love with someone, and for a moment, the ego is overridden, And we can access the deep well of God's love that exists within every single one of us. Same thing that happens when you do certain kinds of plant medicine. Right? For that 6 hours that you're on it, it like overrides the ego and you experience the deep well of God's love within you. And some people who do plant medicines, they freak out because they just can't handle that because they're so entrenched in the ego that when they experience that directly, it's overwhelming and they just flip out. But if you're ready for it, if you're available to it, it can be a deeply healing experience. But whether it's falling in love with someone, whether it's plant medicine, it always wears off because the ego reconstructs itself. So the ego gets interrupted, but then the ego reconstructs itself. And then 6 months later, it's like, I don't even know you. Why are you like this? You annoy me. But when we fall in love with someone, what's happening is we're having a mystical experience where we're getting a glimpse not into what we can get from the other person, but what is actually available within ourselves. And we say, I love you. What we should really be saying is you are the conduit that is allowing me to experience the love that is within myself that normally I'm not available to. But something in the way that we've connected, something in the way that we have partnered together is bypassing the part of me that is normally disconnected from that. And I'm allowing to experience the raw essence of love as it moves through me and towards you. But here's the trap in that, is that if we're relying on another person to generate that availability in us, it's temporary and it's fleeting, and the ego will always close itself down to it. Again, the same thing happens with plant medicine or with breath work or with meditation. You can get into these states of being, but once the medicine wears off or you come out of meditation, you're right back to your old self. So there are certain experiences in life that allow us to bypass the ego, which is the isolated, fear-based part of ourselves, and experience directly the truth of who we are, which is that we are one with God. We are one with love, that the love of the universe, that God's love exists within us. But as long as we're relying on something external to access that experience, it's temporary. We get a glimpse of it and then we lose it. And if you don't understand what's happening, if you think that that person did it to me, rather than that person made me available for a moment to something that's within myself, then what's going to happen is you're going to start chasing that person or that experience. And then when the ego restructures itself, it's going to tell you different messages, and it's going to chase that experience, but it's going to chase it in a way that you never actually find it. And so the ego might tell you that person was the person who did it. If you lose them, you lose everything. And so you chase and chase and chase that person. And I've seen people who have been pining over someone for years. The person left them, is now with someone else, got married and started a family, and they're still sitting around going, they were the one who got away. I lost them. Because they believe that the thing that they accessed came from the other person and not themselves. You see, they don't even want that person. They want what they felt when they were with that person, and they don't realize what they felt when they were with that person is actually something inside of them. And sometimes we spend our whole lives pining over that person. They've moved on, new relationship, they don't even think about us anymore, but we still sit and go, I lost the one. If I don't get them back, I'll never be whole again. And the ego, when it restructures itself, it keeps us chasing the thing that we thought gave it to us. Or sometimes the other thing the ego does, if, 6 months later, it's like, you annoy me. You're not even who I thought you were. I didn't sign up for this. And then the ego says, well, this person was the wrong person, but if you go find someone else, they'll do it for you. Right? What I'm really describing here is an anxious approach and an avoidant approach. The anxious person says, I need you to give me more of that. The avoidant person says, you don't work for me, but someone else will. And then the avoidant person goes and finds someone else, and then they fantasize about the person they left. Because the ego is always telling us to seek where we can't find. And we believe that the love that we want to feel exists as something that we only get from something outside of ourselves. This is the addict chasing the drug. We feel lost, we feel isolated, we feel alone, we feel separate, and then we do a drug and all of a sudden we feel euphoria. And then we say that drug did it to me. And so we chase that drug or that drink or that slot machine or whatever it is. But it was never the drug or the drink or the slot machine that was doing it. That just gave us a window into something that was within ourselves. But the more we chase it, the emptier and emptier and emptier and emptier it becomes. Because this feeling of separation is a spiritual experience. It's a spiritual isolation. It's a sense of being disconnected from the very nature of myself, from my true home in God. If you don't like the word God, call it love, call it the source. But it's a sense of being isolated from the true nature from which I come. And the only way it can truly be resolved is by reconnecting to that within myself. See, this is the thing that most people don't want to name this. I see a lot of conversation on social media and from different coaches, and they say things like, we need connection with other people. You can't really be whole within yourself. And there's some truth in that. I'm not going to deny that we need connection with other people. Like we are meant to be in relationship with other people. But here's the catch. If you are always relating with other people to try to replace something that you can only find within yourself, your relationships with other people are going to be deeply painful and deeply disappointing. And you're going to get moments of that hit, that validation, just like hitting a jackpot on a slot machine. And then you keep playing another round, and you lose everything you won. So the idea that we can't be whole within ourselves, that we need other people to feel whole, is an absolute lie. In fact, if you believe that lie, you are going to chase relationships with other people to your own destruction, because they will always let you down. They will always be disappointing. They will always be hurtful, and you will always be disillusioned. And then ultimately what happens over time is there's a kind of resignation that sets in. A kind of hopelessness that sets in. Because you've chased and chased and chased and chased, and it's never worked. All it's done is deepen your feeling of isolation and separation and aloneness. And you don't trust anybody anymore. And you feel like every time you've gotten your hopes up, it's been a failure, and you've created all kinds of defenses against it. Now, do we need other people? Yes, we need other people. Do we need relationship? Yes, we need relationship. But I want to offer a reframe on this. We need relationship not to get love from others, but so that we have the opportunity to love. You see, when I love you, when I really, truly love you, not a self-interested love, not a I'm going to love you so that you love me back kind of love, but when I truly love you just to love you, I am now tapping in to the love that already exists within me. And as I extend that love to you, as I hold you in love and I extend that love to you, the love that I am, the God's love that's a fundamental part of me, is now moving through me, and I experience that love as it's moving towards you. And that heals the experience of separation. And this is the beautiful thing about it. I don't need anything from you to love you. You could be my ex. You could have left me and abandoned me and move on and married someone else and started a family and be 1,000,000 miles away on the other side of the world. And I can sit in my living room by myself and I can surround you with loving thoughts, and I can be happy that you're happy. And I can wish you well and wish your new family well. And I can say, I bless you. And all the love that is within me, I extend it to you and I send it to you with no selfish interest other than to just bless you and wish you well in your new life and your new family. And when I do that, I am tapping into the love that exists within myself. And then I get to experience more of it. But that's not what we do, is it? We say, how could they do this to me? How could they leave me? How could they hurt me like that? How could they be with someone else? And we hate them for it, even if we say we don't hate them. The emotion is hate. It's like, I only love you if you are with me. I only love you if you are who I want you to be for me. That's not love. And so, in choosing to relate with the situation that way, we disconnect ourselves from the love that is inside of us, and now we are more isolated in our own experience of separation. So I want everyone to really hear this. We don't need other people to love us. We need other people to love them. And the more we love them, the more we experience the love that we are. And that's how separation gets healed. This is a hard lesson. It goes against everything the ego will tell you. But you've got to understand, the ego comes from separation. And the ego, in order to sustain its own survival, needs to keep the separation real. And so the ego is only going to give you thoughts and feelings and approaches that reinforce the sense of separation. Because if you lose all connection to the idea of separation, the ego doesn't exist anymore. And the ego's only motivation is to perpetuate its own existence. This is what Jesus taught. Love your enemies. Bless those who persecute you. And I'm not particularly a Christian, but Jesus was teaching the truth. Why do we love our enemies? Because when we love our enemies, we get to experience the love that's inside of us. And when we hate our enemies, we feel isolated. We feel separate. Loving others unconditionally is an act of self-love. Because the more I love you, the more I love myself. And the more I hate you, the more I hate myself. You see, let's use the example of the ex real quick. The ex, they left me, they moved on, they have a new family, and now I hate them for it. Even when I say I love them, the real emotion around it is hate. I'm bitter, I'm angry. How could they do this? How could they leave me after everything I gave to them? They're a narcissist, they're this and they're that. So now what's happening? Underneath all of the judgment of them, how could they do this? How could they leave me? How blah, blah, blah. My hatred of them is really hatred of myself. The other side of the coin is I'm not enough for them. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable enough. I'm not worthy enough. If I had been more or better or different, they would have stayed, but they went and they chose someone else, and that person is better than me, and I'm less than that person. So now the hatred of them is really just hatred of myself. And it's just reinforcing the separation. It's just strengthening the walls of my own prison. But when I extend love to them, what am I saying? I'm enough. I'm whole. I can love them because I don't need them to want me. I don't need them to choose me. There's no hatred of myself. So when I love them, I'm actually loving myself. And that increases my sense of worth, my sense of value, my sense of being okay within myself. Like maybe one of the most fundamental rules in life is that what you put out is what you get back. If I'm putting out anger and bitterness and hatred and fear and shame and guilt, and if that's what I'm putting out there in my thoughts, in my feelings, that's what my life is going to be. That's how I'm going to feel about myself, and that's ultimately what all my relationships are going to reflect. And if I choose love in every situation, that's how I'm going to feel about myself, and ultimately that's how all my relationships are going to reflect to me. Now, I think it's important just to say here, unconditional love doesn't mean boundaryless love. Let's say you were in a true narcissistic abuse situation. Let's say there was someone, maybe you were married to them or you were in a long-term relationship with them, and they were a legit narcissist. They were manipulative, they were abusive, they gaslit you. They did all of it. Should you still love them? Yes. That's something a lot of people are going to struggle with. Why should you still love them? Because hating them only hurts you. But loving them doesn't mean you have no boundaries. You might say to them, I know I deserve better than this. I'm not going to subject myself to this treatment. I'm not going to allow myself to remain in a relationship where I'm not cherished and honored and respected. I'm going to remove you from my life. Maybe I even get a restraining order. Maybe I block you on everything. Sometimes we need to have that clear of boundaries with people. Because some people are so lost in their own darkness that any window we leave open, they're going to manipulate it. So we do what we have to do, but there's a difference between having a clear boundary out of my self-respect and my self-love and withdrawing my love from someone. One of my spiritual teachers said, do what you need to do with people, but never throw them out of your heart. So if I need to never see you again, cut our relationship completely, remove myself from the situation, then that's what I'll do. And I'll do what I need to do with someone, but that's completely different from throwing them out of my heart. And what I've seen many people do with these kind of narcissistic abuse situations, and maybe not immediately, it takes some time to heal and to learn and to grow through it. But what people might say in retrospect is, I see now that I chose that relationship because I believed in my own separation so deeply. I felt so isolated and so unloved in my own experience that I had to marry someone and choose a partner who would reflect that feeling of isolation and loneliness to me. And so I chose that person because they were a reflection of my own sense of isolation that I was living in. And it was actually through that relationship, through the darkness and the pain and the loneliness that I experienced in that relationship, that drove me inward. It drove me into myself to ask myself, what do I deserve? How do I deserve to be treated? What am I worthy of? And in those questions, in the dark places that relationship drove me to, I found a spark of love within my own heart that had been buried under years of pain and longing and separation. And so I chose to love myself. And when I chose to love myself, I chose to sever that relationship. And now, looking back, I'm grateful to that person because they are the person who taught me to love myself. And I love them, not because they're a wonderful human being, but because I know how isolated and alone and separate they feel. And I also know that they never got the gift of loving themselves like I did. I know that they're still out there being a sick fucker, hurting people, thinking that they can dominate and overpower someone and control and manipulate, and thinking that somehow they can find their way into love through all of that. And no matter how much they do and how much pain they cause, they're still just deeply hurting even more inside. So I will never speak to that person again. I have no space in my life for that person, but I'm grateful to them for awakening my love of self. And I love them because I know they don't know what they're doing. I know they're just as lost as I was when I chose them. That's what healing looks like. That's a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow because we want to justify our grievances. We want to be victims. We want to cast the blame onto someone else. We want to say, no, it's your fault. But the truth is, every relationship you end up in, you chose it. Every treatment that you've received, you allowed it. And I say that with a lot of love and compassion because I've been there. I've chosen horrible relationships. I've allowed myself to receive horrible treatment and then try to win the person anyway. But I'm not mad at those people. They were just being them and I was just being me. And in my story, those are the people that taught me to demand more for myself. So I'm grateful to them. Attachment, our relationship with attachment, the way that we want to get close, the way that we want to pull away. It's all founded in our need to fill a spiritual hole within our own hearts. That's what it is. And most people don't talk about this. They talk about, well, it's our relationship with our parents and it's the way that we learned. And all of that's true to a degree. But if you stop there, you're missing the core piece that holds it all together. It's like, who are you that is capable of love in the first place? What is love even? Like, there's no, in a materialistic or an atheistic view, there's no real answer to the question, what is love? Other than it's just some chemical side effect that happens in our brains. I mean, wow, way to reduce the greatest possible experience a human being can have to almost nothing, right? But when you ask the question from a spiritual perspective, who am I who is capable of love? You are the created that came from love itself. You are the created by love itself. God, the source, the origin, extended its love. And you came out of that. And now you, in the image and likeness of your Creator, can do the same thing. You can extend love, just like God extends love to you. And what you extend is what you create. I've touched on this before, but I just want to circle back to this because this is the essence of everything. We live in a vibrational reality. There are plenty of experiments being done now in quantum physics, and like this isn't even woo-woo anymore. Like the nature of reality is energetic. All matter are really energetic constructs. If you break down an atom, which is the building block of everything, every piece of material thing that exists, every plant, every tree, every table, every couch, every piece of matter that exists is constructed of atoms. And if you break down an atom, what is it? It's almost entirely empty space. There's no real substance to an atom. It's energy being held together in electromagnetic relationships that are swirling at incredible speeds. And then these little building blocks of matter that are really just energetic constructs bond together in all these magnificent molecules, and they make up the physical material world. They make up our bodies and the entire physical world we live in. It's an energetic reality, and there's a vibrational integrity to it. And love is a vibration and fear is a vibration. See, I mentioned hate a bit in today's episode, but hate is only a side effect of fear. Fear is the real problem. And fear is what the ego lives in, essentially. The fear that I'm separate, the fear that I'm alone, the fear that I don't belong, the fear that it's always going to be this way. In an atheistic or materialistic view, it's taken to the extreme. It's the fear that life means nothing, that there's no greater purpose or greater meaning to life, and we're just spinning through space like a giant cosmic accident, swirling onward into nothing. And I have this blip of time in this world, which is just a speck in all of existence. And I have this little blip of time to collect as much love and success and validation and money as I can before I die, and it all means nothing anyway. I mean, what a bleak way to live, right? What a bleak way to live. Or you can choose to recognize that you are a part of the very thing that created existence. You are an extension of love that was extended by love itself. And because you've been endowed with love in your own heart, you can extend it out into the world. And love is a vibration just as strongly as fear is a vibration, stronger even. And so the question becomes, are you extending love or are you extending fear? What are you putting out in the world? Because what you put out in the world is what you're going to get back. And if love is true and fear is a lie, right? Like love says, I'm deeply connected to creation. I am a part of everything. That which created me is alive within me, and I could never be separate from it. And fear says, I'm isolated, I'm alone, I'm one tiny little person in a big world, in an even bigger universe. I'm lost. I'm spinning off into nothingness. I don't belong anywhere. I have no home. I'm not safe. And this is the beautiful thing about being human. You get to choose what your reality is. So do you choose love or do you choose fear? Which is going to define your reality? And the one that you choose becomes a frequency that you carry. It becomes the vibrational signature that you put out in the world. You want a loving relationship? You want to be loved by someone? Start by loving everyone and everything. That's hard, right? That's a hard piece of advice to follow. But here's the beautiful thing about loving everyone and everything. One, if I love everyone and everything, that also includes me. And if I love myself, that means I'm not going to accept poor treatment. That means I'm not going to settle for less than I deserve. That means I'm not going to let myself be taken advantage of. It means I'm going to guard my energy and I'm going to protect my boundaries and I'm going to say no to things that don't resonate, because all of that is an act of self-love. And I can do all of that without ever withdrawing love from anyone. You know, I go on a couple of dates and then somebody ghosts me and man, that sucks. And I feel the pain of that, but I say, you know what? I love myself. So I'm just going to love myself through this. It hurts to be ghosted. It hurts to be let down. So I'm just going to wrap myself up in a big hug and draw myself a bubble bath and go for a walk in the woods and just fill up myself and fill up my cup and I'm just going to nurture myself and love myself through this experience. And when it comes to that person who ghosted me, I'm just going to recognize that, you know, people who ghost people, they must feel really lonely and really isolated. Because at a bare minimum, you could just give someone an answer. And if you truly ghost someone, that means you're so disconnected from yourself that you're not even in touch with what it feels like. And wow, you know, I feel sorry for someone who lives like that. I really do. I know that I'm going to nurture myself through this and I'm going to feel better eventually and I'm going to be okay and I'm going to keep putting love out in the world and that's just going to bring more love back to me. But I know they're probably going to keep doing this and it's going to bring more of this back to them. And I'm just going to take a moment and love that person. Send them some compassion. I'm going to say to them, even if I don't ever talk to them, but in my own mind, I'm going to say to them, I get it. I know what it's like to feel isolated. I know what it's like to feel alone. I know what it's like to maybe have somebody who's ready to love and not know what to do with that, and so you push it away. And that must be really lonely, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that's your experience, and I love you. It's like the Ho'oponopono prayer. Let me see if I can remember it. I'm sorry, I love you, I forgive you, thank you. Something like that. I might have gotten the order mixed up, but it's that Hawaiian Ho'oponopono prayer. Right? I'm sorry, I forgive you, I love you, thank you. And we start to extend that out to everyone. Because we start to realize that there is not a single thing in this entire world that is worth disconnecting me from the love that's inside of me. There's not a single thing that is worth that cost. I can lose someone else and that hurts, but that doesn't hurt as much as losing myself. And then as we live this way consistently, as this becomes a practice consistently, there starts to be an energy about us that is immensely attractive. People want to share space with us. They want to be close to us. Because we embody something that heals the separation in them. And will toxic people be attracted to that? Sure. That's why you need boundaries. But you know who else is going to be attracted to that? People who have been on that same journey. people who have been learning to love themselves in the same way that you are. And when you and that person see each other, and it might take a little while because these people are kind of rare. Get on social media and scroll for 5 minutes. You'll see how rare it is for someone to really love like this. But you'll meet them because your energy will draw them in and their energy will draw you in. And when you find each other, there's going to be a recognition. Oh, you're one of us. And then that becomes the basis of a holy relationship. So I want to talk about the holy relationship for a moment, and then I'll end. The holy relationship is a relationship created through wholeness. And I'll contrast this with what I call ego entanglements. So the ego entanglement says, I need to get something from you, and I'm going to take what I need from you, and that's going to fill me up, and I'm going to feel whole once I take everything you have to give me. And then two people get into an ego entanglement with each other, and they take from each other until they both feel empty. And then the relationship collapses. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. This is 90% of human relationships. We take, and then we resent the person when they can't give us what they used to give us. And both people resent each other, and it's really messy and ugly. The other option is the holy relationship. The holy relationship is a relationship sustained through wholeness. What that means is I'm whole. I don't need anything from you. The love of God is alive inside of me. I am filled up with it. It is my truth. It is who I am. I'm whole. I am complete within myself. And then I meet someone else and they're whole and they're complete within themselves. And then we partner with each other, not because we need something from each other, but because it is delightful to give and receive love together. And the relationship is deeply nourishing. This is the essence of everything I teach. Practice only love, because that is what you are. The more you identify with the truth of who you are, as I've said already, you are love because you're extended from love itself. The more you identify with the truth of who you are, the more life can reflect to you the truth of who you are. The more life and relationships become wholly loving. They become reflections of that wholeness. Your whole life just begins to be a space where you give and receive and extend love. And I want to say this because I'm not just talking out of my ass here. I've lived this, okay? 15 years ago, I was in jail. I had grown up with trauma from extreme religious conditioning on my mother's end, extreme unchecked shadow on my father's end, drug addiction, alcoholism, misogyny, the whole thing. When I was 13 years old, I got addicted to weed. 16 years old, I was addicted to ecstasy. 18 years old, I was addicted to oxys and heroin. I got arrested on some drug and gun related things. Did a couple years in jail. Started my life over at 21 years old. Not a single support system in my life. Completely alone. Asking myself, who am I going to be in this world? And over the last 15 years, I've built my life up from that point. I've gone from 21 years old, an ex-convict, alone in the world, not a dime to my name, nothing to show for myself, to I'm married to the love of my life. We live in a beautiful home. I have 2 dogs that are just the sweetest, most beautiful creatures I've ever known. We have a daughter who is just a whole other level of beautiful. I have deep, real friendships with people who are like soul family. Like, I don't know how I know you, but I feel like we've been doing this for thousands of lifetimes. I have a community of people that I coach. I'm meeting with them tonight. We'll have probably 20, 30 people in a room. We're going to sit down together, dive into deep conversations about the nature of life and love, and I serve them in their lives and their journeys. I have an assistant who's like the best assistant. She's another one. It's like soul family. It's like, I don't know how I know you, but like, you're one of us, right? Like, she works with me in my business. She's just amazing. My whole life, all I do 100% of my time is I give and receive love. It's not an accident that I got on a spiritual path 15 years ago, been practicing this relentlessly to the best of my ability, and I've gotten to a point where all I do 100% of the time is give and receive love. That's not an accident. That's a life by design. I figured out who I was, I figured out how I wanted to live, and I practiced it until it became reality. And now the only game is, how do we expand? How do I grow my daughter up to be the most beautiful, secure, confident, amazing young woman that she could be? How do I grow my community and support my clients in succeeding and winning in their lives? How do I grow the impact of my work so that it can touch more people and serve more people? How do I love my wife as deeply as I possibly can? I'm connected to it now. The only question is, how do I make it bigger? How do I make the signature vibration of love that I'm putting out in the world stronger so that it's more powerful, more potent, more compelling? And I'm not special. I'm just somebody who understood the law and lived by it. It's not an accident. I'm not just lucky. I could have been another statistic, died of a drug overdose, in and out of prison for the rest of my life. Like, I could have been that easily. I'm not special. I just understood the law and lived by it. That's something anybody can do. So I want to close with this. Thank you for being with me today. Like I said, this was an episode I was excited about, to really talk about the deeper level that most teachings don't touch on. But as I said earlier, to have a conversation about relationships and to not address this part of it, it's like you're beating around the bush without acknowledging the core piece that ties it all together. And I want to say, going back to the holy relationship, my Inspired Love program, this is where I work with 90% of my clients. It's the best way to work closely with me and to get access to everything that I have to offer. The Inspired Love program, we do have space. So if you're interested, we only enroll a few new people every month, but we do have some space this month. So if you're interested in joining us in the Inspired Love program, I'm going to leave the link to learn more in the show notes below wherever you're listening to this. The Inspired Love program is really about having a holy relationship with yourself and then making all of your relationships holy. That's what I've learned, and that's what I teach. That's what I do. And if you're ready to take that journey, I don't know if there's anyone else out there who's teaching this, at least not in the way that I am. And there's no better place to learn it. So thank you for being with me today. As always, it's a pleasure to be here. Love and blessings to you. I hope that your journey is deeply enriching and deeply fulfilling. And I hope that this message has allowed you to connect a missing piece so that you can feel more whole, so that you can be more connected to the truth of who you are, and that you can express and extend that in the world so that your life reflects that back to you. As always, it's such a pleasure. Love and blessings, everybody. I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye. Thanks again for checking out the show. Please subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on the most. And I would love it so much if you leave a review and tell people what you think of us. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram @TheLivingRelationship to connect more closely. And I'm grateful to be supporting you on your journey to love.